And that emotional dysregulation of like, but first that feeling of spinning, right? Of not knowing where to start and having that paralyze you, that's a feeling. That's a feeling that will prevent you from getting started. There's friction, like filling in a spreadsheet. You're like, it's just boring and it takes a long time and I can do it later and like that's just friction. Doing boring things. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, like the bridge between brilliant idea and successful career is doing boring things.
Busy is not productive. This show is about the difference. I'm Santi Tacoronte, and on Productivi-Tree, I talk to the thinkers and experts who are reshaping how we understand time, focus, and meaningful work. Subscribe wherever you listen. Let's dig in. Adam Tilove spent 11 years as a head of school, trusted with leadership, vision, and 45 people's livelihoods. And privately, he kept hitting the same wall. Brilliant ideas never became finished projects. When his contract wasn't renewed, he couldn't hide behind the title anymore. So he had to figure what was actually wrong. What he found, he'd had ADHD his whole life. He went deep. What came out became neurodiscipline, a 13-week system built around the biology of execution, and his book, Split Second, Stop Stalling, Start Doing, practical guide to the half second between deciding and doing. He is a certified executive coach and founder of Neurodiscipline. His audience, the smartest person in the room with a graveyard of unfinished projects. Adam Tilove, welcome to Productivi-Tree.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Adam, let's start with a little story I read about you. A second grade teacher wrote something to you around 46 years ago, and you said that this could have perfectly be written today. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience to get this. First of all, my father died a few years ago, and my brother was going through all of his old papers, and he discovered this report card that was written in 1980. I actually keep it right. It wasn't, this is not a prop. I have this right on my desk right here. Here's the report card. And you can see it was written in June of 1980, right? So almost, what is that? 46 years ago. That's right. So I got this and I read it and I was just stunned because it screams ADHD in so many different ways. And so I had always kind of known that I had ADHD, but I never really took it seriously. It was like I got by through my natural intelligence and charm and great ideas and white knuckling execution. Um, but I struggle, right? Like I would show up at every meeting late because I would forget to check my calendar or forget to put it on, or I'd double book, or I'd be working on a project really hard and forget the time. Like I just was like a kind of a mess. And then I got this report card and I read it and I was just like absolutely floored. So can I read a couple little parts of this?
Yes, of course.
I mean, so here's a line that stood out to me. Many of Adam's brilliant projects and proposals have fallen by the wayside. Yet here too I must claim responsibility. It's possible that his thinking is way advanced in his years. He will need an attentive teacher, in tune with Adam's aspirations. But what he says, and I won't go through all the parts, but basically he says here, like, Adam has great ideas. Oh, here, I'll just read this one. I can only reiterate my advice earlier this year of encouraging him to follow through on every project he undertakes, that he may get a sense of the connection between idea and underlined finished article. Right? So I had these great ideas, but I couldn't execute on them. And he says out some other place, like, Adam has problems like doing anything, whether it's like doing his homework, writing a paper, cleaning up, moving a trash can. He just doesn't do things. And I felt that inertia. Like I have wonderful ideas. Like I can see the gaps. I can see the problems, and I have great ideas to fix them. I just don't like the part of actually doing the work to turn the idea into a finished product. And that's been a problem. I've led schools. I ran a business. And what's really been a huge realization to me is that ideas are worthless. Ideas don't mean anything. That's the expression, ideas are a dime a dozen, right? Like, yeah, like I could say I invented the cell phone. Who cares? I didn't bring the cell phone to market,
Mhm.
right? You can invent anything you want in your head unless you take it to market, it doesn't mean anything. Unless you follow through. And the gap between idea and success is painful, boring, thorough, consistent execution. And that's something that I've always, since I was 8 years old, had a problem with, is the follow through. And that's where I put a lot of my energy and thinking in recently. By the way, I read this report card. I was moved to tears. I mean, they don't make things like this anymore. This is hand typed, right? There was no word processors in 1980. It's hand typed. And it says this guy wrote all of this for me when I was in
Listen,
second grade. And I found him. I looked him up. I found him. He's retired. He doesn't remember me, but I wrote him and I said, "You wrote a report card that was prophetic. And I just want to thank you for the time and energy and care you put into me." He was touched. It was really meaningful to him. He's in his 80s. Um, but that was how much it meant to me.
that's amazing. Unfortunately, I think that many of these report cards will be written today by Chat GPT, but I'm sure that there is a lot of teachers that still have dedication and want to put love about their children. Adam, then, so you went back 46 years, but at some point you got an ADHD diagnostic, a formal diagnostic. When was that?
Well, I went to I didn't get to go to like a psychiatrist, right? I went to my doctor. He asked me 10 questions. I answered them and he said, "Yes, you have ADHD." And the thing about ADHD, like I could have been more thorough. I could have gone to a psychiatrist, but there is no blood test for ADHD, right? There's no genetic pattern for it. There's nothing that you can do a formal test and say you have ADHD or not. It's something that is you judge it by the symptoms. And my symptoms are very, very clear um, in terms of follow through, in terms of organization, even in terms of what's called RSD, which is rejection sensitivity disorder, which is an associated issue. And it just has a lot to do with being very self critical and like all the time concerned about other people's opinion of us. Um, and so, for example, in the report card again, this is the part that I actually don't really often read. It says, there have been times recently when he has burst into tears over his reading. Also, recently, another boy's teasing has reduced him to tears. Tears came again when he voiced his unhappiness at leaving the school. Adam thinks and feels far more than most people about things he knows and about issues, and the reality he sees is tough for him to swallow. Choking me up now. It's who I am. But there's an interesting, it's interesting when I say that's who I am because um, sometimes it's hard to differentiate who am I and what are just the patterns in the way that my brain works because of its chemical engineering. Um, so yes, I am creative, I'm thoughtful, I am reflective, I'm sensitive. I also am someone with ADHD, and those patterns are very often seen with other people with ADHD.
So, what do you tell to people? See, ADHD has come a long way. I think it's very much um, understood and accepted, particularly for younger generations. But I feel it still is a bit of a taboo for grown-ups, for more older people like you and I. What do you tell to people that they think they have symptoms of ADHD or they relate to what you just said, but they never went to a doctor or never asked, and they're finding this as a way of refinding themselves more.
Yeah, so when first of all, I don't like the term ADHD. It's attention deficit, which I don't feel that I have exactly, hyperactivity, which I don't feel that I have, and disorder, which just feels insulting, right? So the term ADHD itself is problematic. I would describe my condition as passion and creativity focused, hyper focus condition,
Hmm.
right? When something is interesting to me, when I'm passionate about it, I can go all in for 12 hours in a row, focused and dedicated to doing like writing the book that I just wrote or creating the program. Like, here's my book and here's my program. And I created these things because they were fun, because I was passionate about them, because they lit me up with energy, right? Um, so I have focus when I wanna have focus. I have focus when it's exciting and interesting to me. It's when, like, I have to start doing things like cold calling or, like, sending emails, stuff that feels hard is when I, like, grind down to a stop, and some of that has to do with just the way that our brains manage dopamine. A neurotypical person says, "Man, I don't wanna do this work, but I have to." They sit down, they're like, "Alright, let's go." And they do it, right? An ADHD person's like, "All right, I gotta do this work. I know I gotta do it, but let me just check and see my email first." Boop, boop, boop. 3 hours later, wow, it's quitting time, right? Um, so to go back to your question, like, when I'm working with ADHD entrepreneurs or people that are looking for help in their career or whatever, I don't actually care whether they're diagnosed with ADHD or not. If they feel that they suffer from ADHD, that's enough for me. And I encourage people that if they feel like these are issues, the follow through, the consistency, the emotional regulation, um, the consistency, like many of these things related to ADHD, get help, like learn about it, like try to figure it out because it will block you. It will slow you down. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone who has ADHD needs to put I have ADHD on their LinkedIn profile because a there can sometimes be a bias or a negative feeling towards ADHD, like, oh, this guy's going to be a mess. He's not organized. Like, these things are true. Um, um, but they're not defining, right? Someone with ADHD isn't necessarily going to be late for meetings, but it means that they have a different set of challenges that they need to manage. And so the point for us is to like figure out how to manage them. How do you get in control of these symptoms so that you can achieve the best that you can be? At the same time, what you're saying, Santi, is also true that there's not as much of a bias as there used to be. In fact, there's a lot of people that talk about ADHD as being their superpower. I don't really buy that either. Um, there's someone I don't know who came up with this, but someone describes ADHD as being the hunter brain, right? That biologically speaking, in the old, you know, pre-civilization, ADHD people were the hunters, and the neurotypical people were the people who were taking care of the homestead. But the ADHD, we notice patterns. We have a broad focus. We're noticing tracks. We're noticing disruptions, weather. Like everything's. We're noticing everything. We're active. We're out there. We're hunting, right? And it's extremely stimulating, and we're very good at that. So we have these hunter brains that are constantly looking for opportunities. That's why we're often very good entrepreneurs, right? Looking for opportunities, understanding the marketplace, seeing the patterns, seeing the holes. But let's face it, like in today's world, the hunter's lost. We're not a hunter society anymore. We're a chair sitting society, and our skill set is misplaced. Um, so and the things that make ADHD people want to be entrepreneurs, right? Control of their own destiny, being able to, come up with new ideas and bring them to marketplace, um, making our own rules. not having to be bound by somebody else's deadlines, all these things that make entrepreneurship exciting to us is also a worst enemy, right? Because often people with ADHD, we hate bosses, but we need them. We need
Mhm.
deadlines, we need external pressure. We need to know like when this is due or else, because that forces us into action. So the whole thing about the superpower, it can be a superpower if the negatives are managed.
Mhm.
If you're not managing your weaknesses in ADHD, your skill set can't become a superpower because you're just holding yourself back. You won't execute. You won't see it through.
And how do you advise and how did you manage through that? Because, see, I'll tell you where I think the deficit word come from. The deficit comes from the expectations of the society that you will do certain things like being on time in meetings, answering your emails, approving the time off, approving the payroll, and all these things. How do you recommend people that hate doing these things to do it? Because what I think is that otherwise you have a bit of a deficit, not in your as a human being per se, but to fit in a certain in a certain society that has rules like them or not.
Yeah, look, we live in society. We live with other people, thank God. Like we're in relationship. And I had a meeting with you this morning. I had to get my kids to camp. I had to feed them. I had to get them dressed, and I had to get here on time. And it was stressful, and I pushed hard, and I got here on time, thank God, right? Because if I was late and I showed up 15 minutes late, you either wouldn't be here, or I would have sat down with you, and we would have started, and you would have been like frustrated. You would have been angry. I can tell you would have played cool. You would have been like, "No, it's okay. Of course, it's okay." But our relationship would have started with a fracture. You would have been annoyed. And you can't go through life annoying people all the time. We have to keep up with the expectations of society, or we have to live off the grid, or we have to be like super powerful boss, right? And super charming and good because people will just quit on us, right? If we put too much on them, if we don't follow through, if we don't do what we're expected to do. So the onus of change is on us, right? We are neurodivergent. They are neurotypical, which means since we're the ones who diverged, we can't get the whole world to come meet us in like, let's have a meeting sometime today. I'll find you. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So we have to adapt. We have to figure out how to operate in a neurotypical world. What you said, like if people absolutely hate doing the thing that they're hired to do, that could be what I like getting into the idea of the book. There are what I call F loads. We have feelings. We have feelings going into any task. And if one of those feelings is, I can't do this, this is not who I am, this is not the life I'm meant to lead, then executing on your ideas is going to be extremely difficult. One of the things that's important is to find a way that your skill set matches your values. So, for example, take American politics enough to know that it's very divisive here,
Hmm.
right? Imagine like I'm a Democrat, but someone hires me as a door knocker for Republicans, and I was supposed to go and knock on doors and convince people to vote for Republicans. I'm going to be very uncomfortable in that position and do a really bad job. Now, put me in a position where I have to go work for the Democrats and go knock on the doors and convince people to vote Democrat. Now, all of a sudden, my values match my beliefs, my skill set. Now I can do a much better job. It's just an example to say, um, if you find yourself working in a position that is out of line with your own values, that's a fundamental break in which you might need to like look for another position because you can't be successful being someone that you are not.
Hmm. Let's go back to your book and the concept of the half second between deciding and doing. See, this is something really, really, when I read it the first time, I was thinking, wow, this is super deep because we probably have millions of ideas or uh, mental activity in a day, but you only take action on a very limited subset of them. And these very limited tend to be mechanical things you do every day, like sending an email or crossing the streets and all these things, right? So walk us through what happens in this moment when something comes to your brain and you either execute or you don't.
Thanks. So just to show the book, it's called Split Second. It's on Amazon, and you can get it as a Kindle or a hardback book. But the premise of this book is that initiating tasks is the hard part. Like once you're working on something, tell me if you've had this experience. Like you delay doing something, it feels like starting is impossible. It's really uncomfortable. Once you're doing it, you're like, all right, that wasn't so bad. That ever happened to you?
Many, many times.
So that's the premise, right? It's that doing the actual work isn't the problem. It's the initiating the work that's the problem. And all the things that happen in our heads in the meantime. So what happens, I think, is we enter into work with feelings, right? It would be nice to say that we walk in as a robot and that initiating all tasks is equal, and our all that matters is our prefrontal cortex, our brain. But that's not the way it works. In fact, I read this story about the elephant, the rider, and the pathway in a book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. Brilliant book, by the way. Have you heard about the elephant, the rider, and the pathway?
No, I haven't.
Okay, this is a good one. Um, Imagine there's an elephant and there's a rider, and the rider says, "Okay, move to the right," and the elephant moves to the right, and the rider says, "Okay, move straight," and the elephant moves straight. Right? The rider is your rational brain, your logical thinking brain. And as long as the elephant is nice and calm and ready to follow your instructions, when you say, "Elephant, go to the right," you go to the right. Now, imagine the elephant is dysregulated. It's afraid of going to the right, and it wants to go to the left. And you say to the elephant, "Elephant, go to the right." Where do you think you're going? You're going to the left. Because in the end, the thought that the rider really is in control of this elephant is a fantasy. The rider's in control when the elephant lets the rider be in control. If the elephant were to say, "I'm out of here, I'm running straight," and the rider is saying, "Stop, stop," they have no control. They're riding something that weighs 5,000 times more than them. And the elephant in this analogy is our emotions, our emotional brain. As long as our emotional brain is relaxed and regulated, if we're calm and our rational brain says, "Do this thing," often we can just do it. But if we're emotionally dysregulated and we're like, "I'm afraid, I'm nervous, I'm freaked out," our rational brain is not really in control anymore. And the point is that we go through our lives at every moment with emotions that are just lying there waiting to spring up, right? Your best friend calls you right now. You get a call and it's your best friend from high school. You're hit with an emotion. Your doctor calls. That's a different emotion. Your tax preparer calls. Like every time something happens, these emotions will spring out of nowhere. They're waiting. They're waiting inside you. And that's the same thing with the work. We go to do this work. We're struck by all of the emotion and the stories that we've carried around these things. It's time to do our taxes and we say, "Oh my God, I'm not good with money. I'm going to owe so much. I don't have it. What am I going to do?" And you avoid doing your taxes. or anything. So the idea is that I think that there's 6 F loads, I call them in my book, and there could be more, right? This is not definitive, but these emotions that I've identified are like fog. And fog is the idea like I don't know where to start. Like I'm just confused. I'm in a fog. Like help me, where am I going? There's flood, and that's like, all right, I have 5,000 ideas. I'm overwhelmed. I know I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do this, but before I do that, I need to do this, but before I do that, I need to do this. And I'm gonna do it. And like you just sit there and you're like, you know what? I'm freaking out now. I don't even know where to start. Let me just play a little Candy Crush. You ever experience either one of those two?
I do. I think I'm more on the latter. I have running thoughts and spiraling, and I want. But first, I need to do this other thing, and I need to prepare that and that and that and that, and then I'm like, wow.
And that emotional dysregulation of like, but first, that feeling of spinning, right? Of not knowing where to start and having that paralyze you, that's a feeling. That's a feeling that will prevent you from getting started. There's friction, which sorry, friction is like this is going to be a whole thing, like filling in a spreadsheet. You're like, it's just boring and it takes a long time and I can do it later and like that's just friction, right? Doing boring things. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, like the bridge between brilliant idea and successful career is doing boring things. And we avoid them, especially people with ADHD just avoid boring things like it's like a like under pain of death. There's fear. Fear is probably the biggest one. Fear is like, what if it isn't good enough? What if there's mistakes? What if nobody responds? What if nobody likes it? What if everybody likes it and I don't have time? What if I what right? All the fear that we have in starting something. I mean, when you started this podcast, it was a leap of faith. What if nobody listens? What if nobody cares? Like that's a huge hurdle to jump over. Fracture, I've mentioned. Fracture is like your values are out of line with what you're doing. And the last one is just fatigue. And it could be burnout, it could be exhaustion. Sometimes it's real fatigue, like I didn't sleep last night, I can't possibly focus. And sometimes it's like fake fatigue, like, just let me do this later. I don't know. So we go to do this work, right? And in the split second we start to do it, we're hit by this wave of feeling. And we recoil from the work. We bounce off of it. It's as if you opened up a basket and there was a cobra in it. And you were like, oh God, that's happening in your mind, in your subconscious, in the split second before you start this unpleasant work. You're triggered by like whatever this means to you. The fear, the fracture, the friction, the fog, like it's just all these things are triggered. And then the next thing you do is you do anything else. And I call this an off ramp. And the off ramps, there's many off ramps. I'll go through those real quick too. Um, put a bookmark in here somewhere so I wouldn't forget. So there's like a control off ramp. It's not good enough yet. I know I wrote this email, but let me read it one more time. You know what? I changed it. This whole part needs to be said. I'm gonna look at it tomorrow, right? Or this book, even this book that I wrote. This book, there's a story around it because the book is the process. But this book could have lived on my computer for 10 years and never been published. I guarantee you have people listening right now who are like, well, I want to start a podcast, but I had this idea for a book, or even like it's 3/4 of the way done. They've got this play that they wrote that they just have to do the last 4 pages, or it's ready. They just need to proofread it. But we get stuck in this control off ramp where everything has to be perfect. The second one I would say is drift. You know what drift is. You're nodding already. Drift is like, oh God, I got to do this thing, but the kitchen is a mess. Let me just clean the kitchen, right? It's productive procrastination. It's checking your email and then going from email to like unsubscribing to responding to this thing. It's like all these things that where you just like drift away, slowly drift away from the thing, and you feel good about it because you're still productive. You just didn't do the important thing that you said you were going to do. There's sedate. Sedating is like watching TV, scrolling Instagram or TikTok, uh, smoking pot, like whatever those things are. They're just like making you forget about it for the time being. You're
Mhm.
just sitting, you just forget about it. There's another other couple that we do that are really tricky. One is like the handoff. That's when you assign it to somebody else. I don't want to do this thing, so I'm just gonna hire an employee or give it to somebody else. They might not know what they're doing, but at least it's not my problem anymore. You hand it off. This is very popular in the business world today. Hiring people to do things for you, like through Fiverr or Upwork. I'll just get somebody in Egypt to make the calls for me. Right? There, problem solved. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's handing it off. Um, there's the Hail Mary, and that is like taking an unnecessary risk. Like, I was working with a guy in real estate. He was a lawyer, wanted to go into real estate, and he knows he has ADHD and he knows he's impulsive. And I said, okay, listen, I want you to just study. We're going to meet in a week and we're going to talk about the techniques that you learned and studied. And I meet him next week and he says, I bought 3 houses. I was like, what's your strategy? Why? Why? He's like, well, they were at a tax sale and I thought they looked like good deals. And I was like, okay, but you're bidding against contractors who are going to fix it themselves. Are you a contractor? No. I said, so you just now you need to go and hire a contractor to fix the house that you just bought for more than the contractor was going to pay. He's like, oh God. Right. But sometimes we take risks. We take unnecessary risks because we want to move the needle. You don't want to do slow, consistent, thorough execution. We want movement fast now. And the last one, the last off ramp, is probably the most dangerous one, and that is the restart. And that's like you have a strategy, it's a good one. You come up with it. You know you're going to do it. You got the plan, and then you wait 3 weeks. Like me and my Instagram, I'm not perfect. I'm still taking these off ramps. Like me and my Instagram, like, okay, I'm going to start my Instagram channel. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get it out there. And then I don't want to record it because I'm afraid of what I look like. I'm afraid of what I sound like, and I don't know how to edit it. And my son says that my videos are terrible and I'm embarrassed. So then I don't do it. So then I start a different thing. I'm on LinkedIn. And then I'm like, wait a minute, like, whatever happened to my Instagram strategy? I just started a whole different strategy. But I started a new strategy from zero 3 weeks after I started a different strategy from zero.
Mm.
And so sometimes we restart our strategies over and over again without ever getting enough data to find out whether the previous one was was good enough. I'm sorry, I've been talking for a long time.
That's all right. I was actually mesmerized listening to all these things, all the off ramps that you were saying, because I could recognize many of them, not only in me but also with people I work with at work and all these
Mhm.
things. But my question to you is there a way to avoid the off ramp and continue on the highway of this is what I should be doing? This is my boring tasks, but if I do it and I don't take the off ramp, I'll be better off?
Yeah, so there's two things. First of all is the awareness, right? Even I hope that people leaving this call will leave with a better awareness and just like thinking about their own emotional reaction to things, and knowing that starting is the hardest part. And if we can, like, the name of the book is Split Second, because literally I think this whole process, entering into something, having an upload, that feeling trigger, the recoil from the work, the bouncing off of it, and the taking the off ramp, all can take place in a third of a second, right? You go to do the thing you're doing, and then all of a sudden, half an hour later, you find yourself doing something different. You're like, where did I even take the off ramp? What happened? And that happens because We're not even aware of what's happening inside ourselves while it's happening. We're taking an off ramp before we even know. Like, so you're on the highway and you're just like, whoop, where am I? You need awareness. The very first thing is awareness of what's happening. And the goal of the book is to break down the steps of what happens in a third of a second so that you can see it happening and you can have awareness that it's happening. And you can turn something from that happens in a third of a second to something that takes 3 seconds. If you can slow that down and just say, I can make a choice here, I think that's going to double your rate of starting. The
Mm.
other two things are frameworks I think about are this. First of all, embracing ugly work. Embrace imperfection. I'm going to coach myself now for a second, right? I'm going to be getting my Instagram. My Instagram's not empty, but I need to really build it up. And I'm really nervous about it because everyone's videos look so much better than mine. And that's okay. Like, my first Instagram video is not going to look like my 100th Instagram video, right? I'm going to learn every single time. It's going to get better and better. But you cannot start at number 100. You always have to start with number 1, no matter what you're doing. So you have to embrace that whatever you're doing, it's going to be ugly and say, I'm looking for done more than perfection. I'm doing ugly work and that's okay. That's beautiful and it's going to work. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's what I call like one ugly rep, just getting one done, starting without fear of what it looks like in the end. And the other thing that I aim for in my work is what I call irrevocable action. An irrevocable action is when you do something that you can't take back. So, for example, I worked with a woman. She was a coach, and her irrevocable action was that she put her calendar link on LinkedIn and said, "Contact me for a free consultation." 17 people booked. 6 of them became clients. She had none. She didn't even know what to do. But it was like, by saying, put your calendar link out there, because once someone signs up for a meeting there, you're not going to skip it. You're not going to not show up for them. So you put it out there into the world and you wait for the reaction to it. That could be sending 10 emails. That could be me posting on LinkedIn or on Instagram or whatever, but reaching a place where you've launched. Another example. I had a guy, he was a photographer, and when he started working with me, he said, I became a photographer because I wanted a career where my natural creativity and artistic desire, it was nurtured. And now all I do is work for corporate guys making videos and my soul has left me. And I said, how do we get that back? Well, to make a long story short, basically he found someone who was willing to um, um, have a lecture for him, a 400-person theater where he was going to present his art, his photography. And he said, but I don't know when to do it. So I gotta finish my presentation before I pick a date. And I said, no, 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 no. You pick a date and then you'll finish your presentation. I said, just accept. Whatever they say, accept. Because then what will happen is then there will be an urgency and you will get it done. You're not going to stand up there in front of everybody and have nothing to say. But if you have to finish your project first, you're never going to book that appointment. Or by the time they do, she's quit or the whatever, right? So he booked the appointment. He got the presentation done. 400 people showed up. He got a standing ovation.
Wow.
Amazing story. But it's about taking that irrevocable action first. Go ahead. So say, yes, I will speak at your event, having no idea what you're going to say, because you'll figure that out. Say, I'll do the workshop before you know what the workshop looks like. Just say yes to things,
Mm.
right? That's the irrevocable action. The work comes from the irrevocable action, not the other way around.
We had a focus consultant in the podcast. Her name is Conchetta. She's focused on this specific piece of work, and she gave a piece of advice, and I commend the audience to go and check it again. She gave a piece of advice that I want to run through you. She said, before you start a task or you have intention of start a task, prepare for it. Mentally prepare for it. It doesn't have to be something really thorough, but just to have this in mind. For example, going back to your example of the basket that has the cobra inside. Before going to open the basket, just have a vague idea of what you're going to do if there is a cobra inside. This is something she teaches many people, so you don't get carried away by your F's, by your feelings. I'm going to send you and encourage you, Adam, to listen to what Conchetta said about focus and how to stay and in the flow zone, as they call it today. Adam, I want to ask you something about boring things. Should we give all this boring stuff we hate doing to AI so we focus on the things we're great at? What is your take on that one?
Look, AI is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. It can do a lot. Um, my wife's a little resentful of AI because I've had many conversations about my ideas and stuff with AI because it's gives me feedback. It's non-judgmental. It is always positive and ready to discuss any idea at any time. It's never concerned with its own issues, its own ideas. So I love AI, and AI is making me dumb, right? So there's a certain point at which you have to be realistic. Like, here's the biggest issue I see with AI right now is that we're all becoming slaves, right? We're losing our creative confidence. So it used to be I used to write emails for my work. I used to go out to a couple hundred people, and often I offended people. Sometimes people would write me back and say, "That was beautiful," and somebody else would write back and say, "I can't believe you wrote that." Like, but I was writing from a place of conviction and depth and energy and feeling, and, like, sometimes, like, people had emotional reactions to what I wrote, good and bad. Um, but now if I had to write that, I would probably take it to AI and say, "What do you think of this email?" And it would say, "This part might offend somebody. This part's great, I would suggest you change this and that." And then I would look at it and I would be like, AI knows better than me. It's smarter than me. It's got all the combined knowledge of all of human history. I better follow along. I better listen."
Yeah,
And I would do it. And so would you. I don't know you would. I don't know if you would, but, like, so would the general population of the universe.
of
People
course.
would say, "Just check this over for me. Oh, good point. Let me change that. Let me change this word. Let me change that. Right? And our grammar would be perfect and our ideas would be just, like, neutered. No teeth. All of us the same. All of us the same. And so, like, I like, when I read something now, have you felt it? Have you felt like everyone's posts have a sort of similar vibe?
That's that's the concept of AI slope, I think, and I've made a full circle around this, Adam. I have stopped even sending ideas to AI because what AI will do is to make it unpersonal. It's not you. It's not you any longer. It's just it's all sounds the same. So if you are in LinkedIn, and we have had people experts in LinkedIn in this podcast before, it's one of the biggest problems we're facing now. Not only the fact that everybody's creating this slop that sounds exactly the same and says honestly nothing, but that we are refeeding the AI with this slop, and it's a bit of like a vicious circle of
Right? Where's it gonna learn? Like, go ahead, like, curse. make mistakes, say something weird. Like I don't like I want use long sentences that don't quite hold together. Like I crave mistakes now. I crave writing that feels human. And so I just would say you're saying should we use AI? And AI at one time, yes. And on the other hand, it's like, but again, like, don't lose your humanity. Don't forget that your creativity, your experience, your life, like, no. And this is one thing I tell people. I'm sorry. Let me just digress for a second. Like, do you know that when you shuffle a deck of cards, the chances are infinitesimally small that the cards have ever been in that order, ever in the history of the world?
No
There are
idea.
as many combinations in a deck of cards as there are like atoms in the universe. It boggles the mind, and that's just a deck of cards. Now imagine a human being from a different place in the world, with different family, different friends, different foods, different experiences, different politics, different time in history. Like there has never been anyone in the history of the world who's been anything like you or me or anyone listening. We are so profoundly unique. Our insights are so different and powerful. And when we allow AI to neutralize us in that way, what a loss for humanity that you can't just go out and be uniquely you. That's the loss. So go ahead, use AI when you want to help you move along, but like don't forget that you are so much more unique and valuable. Your perspective is so much more powerful than anything AI could come up with.
Totally agree, Adam. I think we're a bit of also victim of the tyranny of now, and the fact that everybody wants to do things quickly and get rich quickly and get done with the things they don't like quickly. And AI is definitely a scale tool that can help you go faster. But what I lack this day is definitely authenticity. Adam, I have a challenge for you. Okay, I know you love talking, and that's why I called you. But I have 5 questions that I need you to answer in less than 30 seconds each. You think you
You
can
know,
do that?
talker, huh? I'm sorry. I hear I wanted this to be a conversation. I talk. Okay, less than 30 seconds. I'm gonna try to do less than 15, and we'll see how it goes. Go.
Okay, let's go. Number one book that is not yours that you would give to every high performer who cannot finish things.
Um, Pass. I don't know. I'll have to
Number
come back to.
two,
Yeah.
you can go back later on if you want. Number two, best productivity tool you actually use every day. Not one you recommend, one that you use.
Google Calendar.
Number three, what is the biggest lie the productivity industry tells people?
Um, just that, like, just adapt this system and everything's gonna be okay. Like, everyone wants to sell their system, but it's about often it's not about the system. It's like, are you even gonna use the system? You're gonna buy the system and then throw in the pile of systems that you have, right? It's about, like, the implementation, the follow through, what happens internally, not, like, what you buy and try to stick into your life.
The one habit you will keep for the rest of your life. Only one.
Go to sleep early. Most important thing. Most important thing. Ask me more. Go to sleep early.
Okay. Finish this sentence. The person who gets the most out of the brain is not the one who works hardest. They are the one who.
Um, works in harmony with the way their brain wants to work.
Adam, let's wrap this up. How can our audience, first of all, get your book? I think you said already it's in Amazon in multiple formats. Let's give another peek to the camera of your book so people will not forget how the cover looks like. Split second. Beautiful. And where else can people find you?
So the name of my company is Neurodiscipline. I'll show you that too. It's Neurodiscipline.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find that at neurodiscipline.com, neurodiscipline.org. My email address, neurodiscipline.co. All the socials is Neurodiscipline. And my email address is adam@neurodiscipline.com. I'm happy to respond personally to emails. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a great platform for coaching, and really helps rebuild the sort of the foundations of healthy living over a 3-month period. Got my first neurodiscipline approved coach who's going to be working with me as his own coach, but working with the format, the platform here. So that's really exciting. It's a great platform. I'm really excited about it.
Adam, I want to thank you so much for this authentic conversation and for taking us through your own personal challenges, the good things and the less good things. And if I'm taking one thing away from our conversation today is, and something I'm going to think a lot about, is how emotions affect our decision making and how to create awareness.
I think you got the most important thing out of everything, honestly. Santi, you ask great questions, and I appreciate the fact that you bring this valuable content to your audience. I'm grateful for your time, and hope we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Adam.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Productivi-Tree. I hope you found something useful in today's episode. If you did, and it helps improve your life even a tiny bit, that'll make me really happy. Remember, you can find Productivi-Tree on all major podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoyed the show, why not share it with a friend who might also find it helpful? Until next time, and keep growing and stay productive.